Hello and welcome to Fresh Face Comics, the comic book podcast where a lifelong comic book reader guides his friend through the world of comics for the first time. My name is Joey Morgan, the aforementioned lifelong reader. With me, as always, is Jacob Licklider, the aforementioned newbie.
This is our fifth episode.
This is our fifth episode. It's very exciting. Today we're discussing The Dark Knight Returns. And to discuss The Dark Knight Returns with us, we have our first ever guest on the podcast. Please welcome Elizabeth.
Hello.
She is a big fan of I think a big fan, or was a big fan of the Dark Knight.
Yeah. My opinion slightly changed. I'm super conflicted on this book.
Because we talk with you a lot, because you found us through our Doctor Who projects, and you're also a big comic book fan, and we were trying to find an episode to get you on early, and of course I was talking with you because Jacob didn't want to know the episodes ahead of time, and I was like, do you want to be on episode 5, which is The Dark Knight Returns? I know you really like that one, and I was like, just make sure you reread it before we get into it, and that seems to have changed slightly.
Yeah, or literally earlier today, like a few hours ago, I was like, I just finished reading this, and I have a different opinion now.
So Liz's Twitter is filled with all of the spiciest comic book takes, so I'll leave that linked in the description. You could follow her there. She's awesome. Of course, me and Jacob follow us as always. Whatever, fuck us, I guess. But today we're talking Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller. Before we get into this, as always, if you're watching us on YouTube, listening to us on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you're listening to us, thank you all so much for the support. It really does mean a lot. The podcast has grown a lot, especially with the release of our latest episode, The Court of Owls. So that means a ton to us. Also, we're recording this way early compared to most of our episodes. I have to wait a whole 10 days before I get to see everyone's reaction to this one. So it's going to be hell for me. But it's fun nonetheless. It should be coming
fun because the holidays.
Of course, holidays. We love it.
Think of how this is for me. I'm super excited to be on this. I gotta wait 10 days.
Amazon shipping gets fucked around the holidays, so much so that you only actually got your Amazon copy, Jacob. You only got your Amazon copy of Dark Knight Returns a few days before we recorded this, right?
Like I had to go to the library to get a copy of this book.
Yeah.
After ordering it, yeah. I'm glad we recorded this one in advance. So that means episode 6. We'll definitely have the book in a decent amount of time before recording.
Yes, most definitely. So, yeah.
So it seems we're avoiding actually talking about this book. I think we need to.
This is introductory, so it's our first episode with a guest. Also, the first time on the podcast that we're officially announcing that we have an official release schedule. It sort of happened accidentally with the past couple episodes, but it seems that we're officially easing into an episode every other week, every other Monday, that is. So the last episode was out on the 6th. Yeah, the 6th. So obviously on the 20th, meaning our 6th episode, and our first one of the new year will be out on January 3rd. So that'll be the first episode of our new block of Superman stories. So be on the lookout for that. Be sure to stick around to the end of the episode to find out what that comic book is that we'll be covering. Or
I have a couple of guesses.
Or you could just spoil yourself in the description of the YouTube video and see what it is. But who wants to do that?
Yeah, be a bad sport. Spoil yourself.
Yeah, fuck you. So all right. So non-spoiler section first. Let's talk about The Dark Knight Returns. Jacob, as the person who's just read it for the first time, what did you think of The Dark Knight Returns?
So, this might be an episode that gets at me more controversy than the year 1 episode, because I love the first 2 issues a lot. Then I opened issue 3, and issue 3 was good.
Issue 3 opens a bit strong.
That's one word for it.
We'll talk more about that.
Talk about that in the spoiler section.
But I remember you messaged me and you just said, "Joey, what the fuck is this?" And with a picture of the first page of issue 3. Yeah, and I was like, you see, that is a Frank Miller political statement, my friend.
I'm pulling it up right now. Let me look at it.
Political statement.
Let me fucking look at it. Give me...
So. I do have to say though, you did seem like just overall warmer on this story than you were on year 1.
I did. I think it helped that I was immediately in. Miller has a really good hook.
Oh, definitely. I like when I first started my reread for this, the first 2 pages alone, I didn't realize how vivid they were to me, but I like knew them beat for beat, and they grab you so immediately.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, like there's just something about it, I feel like, that just captures this sort of like feeling where if you've read it before, you're super comfortable reading it. But it still hooks you in just as much as it would have when you first read it. It's
Mhm.
super interesting.
Mhm. I'm curious, Jacob. What did you make of this? This comic is in a bit of a different style than a lot of our other stories that we've done.
Yes.
What did you make of the style?
I
Because a lot of it's done in like these big pages with a lot of panels
it
and words
is
above it. It's not typically done with regular speech
yeah,
bubbles. A lot of
it's this very interesting it's very uniform, and I for what this story is, I really like that. Like
Mhm.
if this like this I don't think this style would really have worked with any like other comic that we've done. Um just because it's this very regimented uniform, uh 16 panels, and you don't and that really doesn't break
Mhm.
throughout the entire thing.
Mhm.
Um like yeah,
Yeah,
it's it,
a lot of it's in that style. It breaks it a fair amount of times, but a lot of it is in
but
that
it doesn't
same like four and
even when
four.
even when it breaks it, it still keeps the spacing the same. Um,
Yeah. The spacing is always the same. Even when it in like almost like these full page panels, you still get those like couple page panels on the page that still fit within that 16 that 4x4 grid of panels.
it's all very good, and of course, what I noticed, not a whole lot of like 2-page splashes.
There are none of them.
I was
There
like, I
are
don't think
yeah
there's any.
Yeah,
yeah
no, there aren't any.
yeah, which is super
Isn't there
interesting. But
even only just like one? Isn't there only one full like 1 page splash?
There are a couple
No,
that
there are
get
two.
there
There
are
are two or three,
there
I
there
think.
are a few, but
Yeah.
not a lot at all. I remember I was gathering panels for the YouTube video of this, and it's hard to find big panels. They're the easiest to use when you're putting these together. So it's hard to find big panels. I mean, that's not an issue, but it's hard to do that because they're so scarce.
That's why you steal snapshots from Wyatt Weed's Dark Knight Returns fan film.
I've never seen that actually. Is it any
It's
good?
actually pretty good. Yeah, it's
Oh,
super
nice.
faithful. It the guy Wyatt Weed, the guy who plays Bruce in it, and basically is just in charge of the whole thing, is really good. Like the costume's really good, the
Oh, very
directing's pretty good in most parts. I love it.
nice.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah. So I'm curious, what your take was on Bruce in this, Jacob, because this is obviously it's a very different Bruce than anything we've read
Yeah,
before. But arguably, also, this was the first time that Batman had been written as truly dark and gritty and real, and it's a Batman that has inspired all of our other Batman readings in on this podcast, but one that isn't quite the same as the rest.
no, he's very different. He's very much a broken man here. Uh, like this is like I knew so going in. I knew the premise. I knew the premise was that after I didn't know like what had caused Batman to retire. That was an
Mhm.
interesting revelation.
Yeah, especially given when it was published.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um, but I knew like something basically sparked an older Bruce Wayne to go back into being Batman and essentially take up the mantle again. Um, I didn't I didn't expect so much actual. I wasn't expecting a lot of the non-Batman related stuff because there is a lot of like social commentary that gets sort of integrated in various ways. Some good, some eh. Um,
I
yeah.
to be fair, this is a much better political Frank Miller than anything post
oh
2001
yeah,
Frank
no,
Miller.
this is
Yeah,
this is this
uh,
is
don't even get me
there
started.
yeah, this is one where again, much like with your one, it's like, how the hell did that happen? Like,
Yeah,
how did
yeah,
Frank lose
yeah.
his?
Oh yeah, because we talked about that when we did year one. There's that whole bit where where Frank Miller makes a comment on the American justice system, and that's
Yes.
you wouldn't see that in anything written by Frank Miller today.
Yeah, like I wouldn't even be surprised if he doesn't even believe that stuff anymore.
Oh, he definitely doesn't. A lot of his stuff he's written since then has directly contradicted stuff in Year One in Dark Knight Returns.
What a lunatic!
Yeah, right.
I can't wait until my Twitter is flamed by people listening to this. We're like, don't make fun of Frank Miller.
I'll make fun of Frank Miller. He deserves it.
Yeah, he does. Jackass.
No, but also there's this real sense of finality to the book. Like, this is going to be the end of Batman, which, you know, is definitely a really good idea. Like, the 4 issues have individual names, right? Like, and the last issue is called The Dark Knight Falls.
Thanks, Moffat.
Thanks.
I swear, just that tiny bit of Doctor Who infiltrates every single one of these episodes.
It was my turn. It's my turn.
But yeah, it's such an interesting character retrospective. What I also found fascinating, each issue could possibly stand alone as its own complete story almost.
I would say other than the first two are very much
Yeah.
a complete story, I think. I mean, there is like the issue 3 cliffhanger that leads directly into issue 4, but they're still pretty standalone, I would say.
Yeah, I also feel like the issue 3 cliffhanger, like, you could very much just leave that up to interpretation at the same time.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
like
But
it
also,
could stand on its own, but it'd be harder to stand on its own.
Yeah, but I also think the resolution is a big part of the public's perception of Bruce and Batman.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Indeed.
Yes.
So, what now? And I hate to already be here, but what else do we need to cover in the non-spoilers?
Well, yeah, it's hard to talk about non-spoilers because this is sort of a book whose imagery has kind of permeated everything in a way. Not always for the best in some cases, but it's very interesting because you don't see like, again, it's very much a book of two halves. The first half being really tight, really solid, and then it kind of doesn't go off the rails, but it kind of loses focus just a bit, and brings in some stuff. Would it be it's interesting. So I think Joey and I are both reading from the 30th anniversary edition.
Yeah, I don't know what version of the book you have, Liz.
I don't know specifically what edition it is, but
is yours the? Well, it depends on like what's the cover. Is it the cowl with all the characters below it? Is it that?
Yeah, all
one?
the snapshots of like moments from the comics and stuff. The really badly drawn Batman.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's not the 30th anniversary, but I think
oops, sorry.
No, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, if I can in a bit, I want to actually add something in regard to the art to the non-spoiler section.
Oh yes, definitely. Go ahead. Go ahead.
But I think before that, Jacob was gonna bring up the stuff in the 30th anniversary edition.
Yeah.
What Miller has to say on the story.
Because there's a very interesting thing of older this like was done with sort of with it was done with Long Halloween. There's an introduction that's a conversation between in this case it's Frank Miller and Brian Azzarello.
Yes, who we will be reading stuff by eventually. I love Brian Azzarello. But the reason that it's them is because the 30th anniversary edition was released because Miller and Azzarello were co-writing the third Dark Knight Returns book at the time, and so
please don't say the name of it. Please
because they keep making sequels to this thing.
Yeah, for no fucking reason, and prequels.
Okay. Well, the prequel was released at the same time as the third one, so
there are 2 prequels though, and one of them was released before the third one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, All Star Batman and Robin.
Oh, well, I wouldn't call that a prequel.
No, it's considered a prequel. Frank Miller considers it to be part of his universe.
Well, he's wrong about that. He's wrong about but he's especially wrong about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's not right. I mean, not that I'm acting like it's a stain on the Dark Knight universe, because
it is.
There's not much to stain.
Yeah, considering The Dark Knight Strikes Again already spilled an entire fucking coffee pot on it.
Yeah. Man, we are sounding super negative for a book we actually enjoy.
Yeah,
Well, that's what happens when you're reading a book by Frank Miller.
It's
okay.
also it's very interesting because just this introduction is a fascinating look into 2015 Frank Miller, who probably would not write this today.
Oh no.
I don't think he would.
I mean, the scathing criticism of Ronald Reagan alone, you would never see in a Frank Miller comic today.
No, you would not. And
you didn't even see that in Strikes Again.
Yeah.
They gave him like a different name, made him kind of like Bush, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Which would have made sense because that was what 2001, 2002.
Yeah, but like
yeah,
he didn't leave it ambiguous though.
Yeah.
I'd argue he doesn't leave it ambiguous here. It's
it's
clearly Ronald Reagan.
No, I mean like he could like very well have gone into this book and been like, oh, this is like a different president who just looks like Reagan for the sake of commentary. But in that book, they give him a totally different name. It's like supposed to be the same guy apparently.
Really?
Yeah.
That's weird.
That is weird. Anyway, so you were about to bring up the art, Elizabeth.
Yeah, I want to say, going into this, I knew the art wasn't exactly my thing. It's been probably about a year since I last read even book 1, and then I stopped partway through. Now I'm there are good parts in this book, but
see, I rather like the art. I always like the art personally.
I like the art in book 1. And then book 2's is kind of shit. Book 3 is kind of on and off, and then I think book 4 has some of the best. I think it gets stronger halfway through. Like once it gets to book 3, the art just kicks up.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which is kind of funny.
Miller did the pencils for this, correct?
Yes. Now that's the funny thing. I didn't expect. And I actually have the inverse opinion of you, Jacob. Well, only slightly. I like the first 2 things, but I actually think that they're the weaker parts of it. I like 3 and 4 more, or at least I like 4 more than I like 1 and 2. But I like 3 the least, I guess. Maybe whatever.
Interesting.
See, this is gonna be weird because I think we're all on completely separate pages here. Issue 3 is my favorite.
You know what? This is a good position to be in because this is what I've been waiting for in the entire podcast for us to have a big disagreement.
But do you know why the script why I think the art reaches a high in book 4 specifically?
Is it because Miller this is the first thing Miller drew professionally?
No. The reason I think that too, but in my edition, there's actually a bit at the very end that says that near the end of like books 1 and 2, either that or book 1 specifically, was done with a full script. And let me see what it says. Yeah, it says the first 48-page chapter, The Dark Knight Returns, was done in a full script version, done from. And then it says subsequent chapters, as deadline pressures increased and the creative process became more confident, were done from detailed plots, such as the one that follows, which is then there's like a detailed plot of the final chapter.
Really?
Yeah. So a lot of 4 was drawn off of just an outline, which I think is interesting.
Oh no, the entirety of 4, there was no script. It was just a super detailed outline, and the dialogue was done during the pencils.
Wow, that's really cool.
That's interesting.
That is really cool.
Yeah, like I feel like, and I might be a bit off. There may have been a couple of dialogue choices that were in the outline. I'm pretty sure there were, but I feel that's probably why it's super strong.
I'm sure a lot of like the big moments from 4 had like lines that that Miller like really wanted in there. Like I'm sure like the "man who beat you" line, things like that.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I'm sure those were always meant to be a part of the book. But I kind of get that though, because issue 4 I think is the lightest on dialogue and inner monologue.
Oh no, I'm literally looking at like the opening few bits, and I feel like there's actually more inner monologue in like the opening 20 pages
But when you actually get to like the big fight in the end of
Oh
issue
yeah, the
4,
big
like,
fight.
there's not much dialogue or inner monologue there at all.
Well, here's the thing. I feel like the reason it's still so coherent is because Frank did the pencils and the outline. He's writing it and he's doing the art. So like I bet he probably could have done more. I just think he wanted the fight to speak for itself. Because like if you have Bruce monologuing every 5 seconds during like moments that don't need it, it's going to bring the fight down, and I think he probably planned that.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, I think that about does it for our non-spoiler section. Let's move into full spoilers.
Before we move to spoilers, I would say this is just sort of thoughts. Oddly enough, this is one that I said, yeah, you should read it, but definitely do not make this your first Batman comic. Like,
yeah, but also consider, I think it was a lot of people's first Batman comic in the same way that Year One was back when these things first came out. We can say that today when there are other options for beginner Batman stories, but back then, this was about as good as you were going to get for beginner Batman stories. So it could be, it definitely could be.
Yeah, but we also need to realize that that's part of the reason why there's such a big misconception of the kind of character Batman is.
I suppose, but also this is I think also this book is where we get a lot of modern Batman from. This is this is where the character as we know him was created. So yeah, so it's important for historical purposes.
Yeah, but like what I see is there's I think there's about an equal amount of positive things that came from this that ended up being put into mainline like Earth 1 DC continuity, and a bunch of other things that should never be part of mainstream Batman. That a lot of people think are part of mainstream Batman because of this book. Just I think the overall darkness, like Bruce isn't the Bruce in like the mainline stuff isn't as like as cruel, I'd say. Obviously that is part of his arc, but I think a lot of people like have taken that as who Batman is.
Yeah, but of course we will take a deeper dive into those things when we do get into spoilers, which is now. But of course, if you are dropping out at this point, before we move into spoilers, just know that you should definitely pick up this book. It is very important in the larger history of Batman.
It may not be perfect, but it is an interesting read that I think you get something out of.
Yeah, and I think easily the best Frank Miller story out there, personally, I think.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, no, I think we're unanimous on that.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get into spoilers. Let's take a deep dive into this thing. Consider this your full spoiler warning. If you haven't dropped out and you haven't read this book, I would recommend dropping out now. So, all right. So
the first thing that strikes me is before you get to issue 1, at least in my edition, you have this interesting newspaper extract.
Yes, the Jimmy Olsen column, right?
Yeah.
So that's in every version of this, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Which I think does a lot more. I think it does a lot actually to set the scene.
The kind of world that Miller is throwing us into. Yeah, definitely.
Because you get a lot of cynicism sort of about looking back at like the golden age of superheroes, both sort of in universe and what the story takes place, as well as I suppose what was going on at the time. Because this was 1986, right? So we would have been just at the beginning of like what's called the modern age, right?
Yeah. Where a lot of like main DC characters were first being reinvented for a modern age.
Yeah, it would have been literally around the time Crisis ended.
Yeah, this was when this is obviously right before Year One happened. This was when George Perez was reinventing Wonder Woman as a character. This was a lot of big changes in the DC universe right now, and
so
it's of course it's.
But yeah, there's this interesting paragraph just about Batman in the text. They talk about a Man of Steel, an Amazon princess, but they never talk about the mean one, the cruel one. The one who couldn't fly or spend steel in his bare hands. The one who scared the crap out of everybody and laughed at all of the rest of us for being the envious cowards we were.
I love it. Like like
it's fascinating because it's not meant to be accurate. This is there's going to be a lot of talk about sort of the way Miller uses the media, and this entire thing is meant to be a bit cynical um,
mhm,
about who Batman was. So like the idea being that in the memory of the people at the time, sort of in universe, the 10 years after when this is being written,
mhm.
the idea being that only people would remember the scary bits of Batman,
Yeah.
Yeah, because
the
yeah,
fear.
there's a bit in yeah there is a bit like later on in the book, like literally a few pages after that, like newspaper extract in my edition, where where like one of the newscasters literally says people like some of our younger audience members would not remember who Batman is. Like a lot of high schoolers think he's a myth.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
a lot of people wouldn't remember that. Just fear.
Yeah.
Well,
Mhm,
because it's interesting. Because moving on from that, we open the book proper with Bruce Wayne essentially trying to fill the hole
mhm.
of, of
He's trying to find some excitement again. He's in this race. He's essentially just trying to kill himself, which is what he was always trying to do as Batman, just trying to find that rush again. And I mean, not always trying to do as Batman, but you take my meaning. It's that he wants to find that feeling again, and
You can even
still,
see it in his costume, what he's
oh, definitely,
wearing.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah, with the same way that it covers his eyes.
The pointy ears.
What do we think of the Wayne stash?
I like the Wayne stash. My boy
I
looking like Thomas.
yeah, yeah, that's the point. I think is that he's meant to look like Thomas, and I love that. I love that. Of course, we get one of my favorite parts of the book is that Bruce is looking for a good death. This would be a good death, but not good enough, and just that sort of inner monologue really strikes you, I think, because it really gets you into the mindset of where Bruce is as an old man. A while after he's done being Batman, what does he want at this point? A good death.
Now, I also wanna point out something. Let me see. Where he says that he switches to manual, he takes out the automatic stuff. Like he wants to be in control. He wants to be in control of everything, and you'll see that like later on
Yeah.
with like a bunch of characters, specifically Robin. But like I think that also kind of adds to it. He wants to be in control. He wants to be in control of everything, but he also wants to die.
Yeah.
And I think that actually kind of meshes together near the end of the book.
Mhm.
Um,
So then we move on. We had a broader look at Gotham here. We get into the main storytelling method for this book is through news broadcasts and finding out what other people think of what's going on. So we get this newscaster here talking about where we are right now. We get introduced to the mutant gang, these younger thugs that have taken over the city. Jim Gordon is set to retire soon after his 70th birthday,
and
and
everything is gray.
yeah,
It's this very gray color palette. Like, um, Bruce and Gordon share a toast.
I love the transition into that scene. That this reporter would like to think he's alive and well, enjoying a celebratory drink in the company of friends, and then we cut to Bruce and Gordon. And I also like that Bruce didn't shy away from telling Gordon his identity post being Batman.
oh, that. Like even on that topic, just honestly, I think one of these lines actually implies that Gordon found out on his own. The like you with your ginger ale pretending it was champagne, fooling everybody, almost. Like
Yeah,
that implies that he knew. Like he knew
yeah,
before Bruce told him. Like
mhm,
and I think that's really interesting. And I think
yeah,
that kind of builds up their relationship.
And
mhm.
we get the first hint of why Bruce stopped, especially with what happened to Jason.
Who at the time was still the current Robin in comics. And
Mm-hmm.
And there were no
everyone knows Jason Todd today as the one that died, but this was 2 years before they killed him.
and
Now,
and two
Joey,
years
sorry.
and like even 2 years they would not have been planning to kill him because killing him off was a snap decision based on biased
Votes.
audience opinion.
No, no, no. Here's the thing. Joey and I were talking about this the other day. Joey, you said that you think that this book was probably one of the main reasons why that vote went the way it did.
Oh, I think so. People's love of this book cannot be overstated, at least at the time. Um, this was far and away everyone's favorite Batman story at the time, and even 2 years on, when year one had already happened, like this was still the staple, and everyone wanted desperately, no matter all the evidence to the contrary, everyone desperately wanted this comic to be canon, and I think that had a lot to do with the death of Jason and why that option won in the end.
Yeah, but we basically get some really good, some really good scene setting, just of Bruce basically getting mugged.
But also that he's looking to fight these guys. These two mutant gang members come up to him and are actually kind of scared off by the fact that Bruce is actually ready to fight them.
And is just sort of a tall, imposing figure.
Mm-hmm.
And this idea that like Bruce is into it.
Yeah. What did you make of the way the mutants talk, Jacob? Because remember, Jacob, this is the dialogue of the future. This is how youngins talk.
Real cool, Rob. Jesus Christ. Batman don't shiv, you see. I literally hear the voices from the movie.
They're so good. They're so good.
It's corny.
Something to keep in mind, though, I think, is that this comic is meant to be set in 1986.
Which means Frank Miller's just insane.
Like,
dude, like that. This is his interpretation of slang. Like, this is what he hears, even though it's like totally different. Just like old man. Yeah, like, but what did you just say to me?
Yeah, well, a couple things contribute to this. One, we know that this is meant to take place like if Batman continued to age from when he was first created in the 30s to now, this is how old he would be. And if we were to continue on that idea, Ronald Reagan is president. This is 1986. It's meant to be present day, just we've aged Bruce to how old he's supposed to be.
It's apparently language that the colorist Lynn Varley used with her siblings.
Huh. Really?
Yeah, he says that in the introduction, which is
okay.
Ooh, okay. You know what? That may have just changed my opinion on this shit.
I don't think it works because it's very specific. It's very weird, but
we go to Arkham Home for the emotionally troubled. Then we got our first glimpse of Joker. I don't know. I know you've had your problems with this, Jacob, but I love Joker in this. I will get into it more later, obviously, but I love the Joker in this comic.
Now, if I can say, we also get... Oh, sorry.
Yeah, this is where we get some of Miller's interesting views on psychology.
In introducing Harvey Dent into the narrative, I was curious for your takes on these, Jacob, because you made some interesting statements when you were first reading this, and I want to hear these fully elaborated on.
So, so I like part of me is because I like the idea that Harvey Dent could be redeemed, and I love the introduction that we're giving him plastic surgery, we're restoring his face, and this weird sort of thing of Dr. Bartholomew Wolper.
My least favorite character.
He is. It's very much something of its time, because this would have been sort of the rise, I suppose, of cable news. Again, this is a book that you really have to read and analyze. This is 1986.
So what you're saying is that Wolper's more of like a television psychiatrist.
Because that's what I think Miller is going for. I just don't think it works.
Oh yeah, for me it comes across as him saying that psychologists don't know what the fuck they're talking
about. Because he's also positioned. He's not introduced in a news segment, which, if you just changed that and introduced him in a news segment and not introduced him on the page that they did, introducing him as this idea of, because it introduces the first panel, it's like, wait, Arkham Asylum has reformed. It's trying to rehabilitate its mentally deranged criminals, which, would be a good thing. But then immediately you get just Wolper have it being just kind of this weird caricature of a psychiatrist. Uh,
But I think the point is that it is caricatured, but also he does actually care about his patients. I would say,
Oh,
yeah,
100%.
yeah.
which again
So I don't think it's
doesn't
necessarily
quite
like
work with the commentary that Miller's going for, because like TV psychologists and these sort of TV "I'm going to cure you" that you sort of started to really see as sort of rise in this time period of the 1980s didn't really care. Like it's a thing that just doesn't quite work. At least for me. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
If I
I
can
do like.
say,
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I don't want to.
I actually know how they could have introduced Wolper a bit better. Just have him be one of the two doctors walking by the Joker. Have him say something I don't like the Joker isn't like my number one priority right now. I need to like attend to another patient. The news is going to love this. Like, get the idea that that's what he cares about too. He cares about like how it's publicized.
mm,
Like I'm on my way to watch Harvey's facial reconstruction surgery just go well. I'm there. I'm gonna be there for him for that. But I also care about the news. Have him mention that.
mm.
Yeah.
So how do we feel about the fact that Harvey's face actually is properly fixed?
I think it's a good thing.
Mhm.
Especially because you get the thing on the next page that Bruce Wayne's sponsored dense treatment.
Mhm.
That
And you also have Gordon not being fully on board with it too.
yeah,
I I don't. Hmm. I like it. It's just obviously given when it came out. Like, I don't really blame it for this because Frank Miller, even though he's a lunatic now, back then he wouldn't have had that knowledge at his disposal because even a lot of psychiatrists didn't. Um, they the book doesn't take advantage of the fact that obviously Two Face is a case of DID. Like Harvey and Two Face are two separate people. And like again, this isn't really a fault of the book. It's just something that I feel as like somebody who does know about this topic. Like, I feel like if this were written now the exact same way, but with that would have made this entire section way better.
Hmm.
that's
The
interesting.
Yeah, like
But
the
I think
idea that Harvey is
also,
more like just the idea that is like Harvey is just one side of the coin.
mm,
He's not Two Face.
and I think that also Harvey is an essential character to bring us into this world with because because of how closely connected Harvey is with Bruce and Bruce's personal stake in his rehabilitation.
And obviously, like what ends up happening at the very end of this book, at the end, at least at the very end of the first book, it
Mhm.
it wouldn't really work with modern depictions of Two Face and the fact that he does have DID. It wouldn't work at all.
Mhm. So then we move on. We get Miller's interpretation of some little Bruce Wayne backstory, which I think is really, really cool looking.
It's where this is where we get the idea of Bruce falling into a hole, and getting that fear of bats.
Mhm.
Um,
Oh, and if I may, let me read this bit because this is some of my favorite fucking dialogue in the entire book. Gliding with ancient grace, unwilling to retreat as his brothers did, eyes gleaming, untouched by love or joy or sorrow, breath hot with the taste of fallen foes, the stench of dead things, damned things, surely the fiercest survivor, the purest warrior, glaring, hating, claiming me as his own.
Oh, I
It's
love it. Oh,
so
it's so
fucking
so good.
chilling.
Like,
So good.
man, say what you will about Miller. Dude has a way with words at the very
Mm-hmm.
least. Like, oh my god,
when
that's
he's on top
gorgeous.
form, he is on top form because
Mhm.
you then it moves seamlessly into just this awake Bruce Wayne.
Naked, mind you. Very important.
My boy Alfred gets a view, you know. Oh,
And we
that's
get
really
this.
gross to say considering their relationship.
Yeah. No, but it's and you see the Bat Cave, everything covered up, bar a glass cylinder with a Robin outfit.
solidifying that, yes, when they say what happened to Jason was, yeah, he's dead. Which,
now that's also an image that I think carries on, that Frank Miller
yeah,
established. The imagery
yeah,
of Jason Todd's suit in like a glass cylinder.
Yep, that has been used in probably in every Batman iteration since.
I even feel like that carries on into stuff like Batman Beyond, where you see a bunch of like the older suits in like a similar case.
Yeah. I like a little bit here where Bruce doesn't realize that he shaved his own mustache off.
Yeah, because it's foreshadowing. We're building up just this psychological turmoil.
Yeah, we had this great inner monologue earlier in the book when the mutants attacked him. That he mentions that there's like he talks of Batman as like a creature still residing inside him that wants to break out.
This thing that gives him like the urge to like go out at night, like he can hear the police sirens, he can smell like the stench from Gotham like miles away.
And I would say again, making Harvey the perfect character to use in this first book because they relate in that way. Bruce and Batman are two personalities in the same way that Harvey and Two-Face are.
Yeah, no, and we see and we sort of see basically from this moment Bruce is trying to sort of suppress the urge to do it. He like goes, it's like, right, I'm gonna just sit down and watch TV and have a drink, and he just can't seem to force himself to like calm down. Like it's either a repeat of the mark of Zorro.
Yep.
Or just terrible reports of death and destruction, and that just flashes him back to about 2.5 pages, recounting
his parents were murdered again.
This
and also
really
this is
cool like slideshow. Like you get like I get the feeling that when Miller did this, like when he drew this, it feels like it really feels like this is something that like you'd see on like a slideshow, like like press a button, it moves to the next one.
It's like an old film reel, yeah. The way it's drawn, yeah, I love it. This is also on Batman history for a second. This is the first time that the Wayne deaths are ever portrayed in this way. The image of Joe Chill's arm getting stuck under Martha's pearls and them snapping as he pulls the trigger and kills her. That was an image that had never been seen before this, and again, say what you will about Frank Miller, that's fucking gorgeous.
Now was Zorro already a thing before this?
Yes,
that I'm not sure about.
I believe it was, because Zorro's one of those film characters who like had an edition in had a film in every generation.
Yeah, no. I think she's asking like, was it always the film that they were seeing in this?
Yeah,
that I'm not sure about.
I feel like if it wasn't here, it would have been in like the Silver Age, like either the Silver Age before it got super super campy in the 50s or the 60s. Like that would have I feel like that would have been something they introduced, just with all like the Batman is inspired by so much. All these characters are inspired by so many other things. Let's like do weird meta shit like Batman Zorro. I bet there was probably a book where he was literally Zorro.
Yeah. And then much like Year One, although this was published before, we have that same sort of image that Miller wants to instill in us in Batman's origin, because this is almost just another Batman origin. This is Bruce deciding to become Batman again. A bat comes flying through the window
and crashes through the glass.
That's the
claiming him as its own.
Just, oh god, so good, so good.
And at this point, in this one, instead of say like in Year One where it's just evening, there is a storm brewing.
The cold front.
You then see a lot of very comic booky images of the storm and of crimes being committed and suddenly stop.
I fucking love the one where the guy has the girl in the back of the taxi, and the driver like takes the bribe from the one guy in the back, and then after Batman stops it, he takes the money from the guy and rips it off.
Oh my god, wait, now that I need to say this too, yeah, I like that bit, but holy shit, the dialogue's kind of racist.
Yeah. I mean, they don't directly show what the characters look like behind
no. In my edition, I can see like the guy's hand and he's black.
Oh yeah, he is, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that if I didn't know for sure.
Yeah, that's true. But but also, how the fuck does that make sense with what me and Jacob talked about in year one? In Miller's views on the justice system, and it's I think it's interesting, but whatever.
So would you say
also-
then that his views actually like flip flop then? Like,
Maybe
or
I
maybe
don't.
they just contradicted each
I don't
other
think.
even then.
Well, I mean, I don't think writing dialogue in a vaguely racist way is the same as like.
No, I mean like maybe he had like conflicting views. Like he didn't. He only really. He didn't really see it from that.
But also, I wouldn't take the dialogue here as an indicator that he's racist.
Yeah, it's a bad trope, but it's the fact that we know what Miller became.
Yeah, and it's not.
And
It's yeah. I don't think it means anything in this particular instance.
But interestingly, one of the flashes we get is the introduction to Carrie Kelly,
who you knew about before going into this, right?
I knew she was going to be the first female Robin, technically.
And the third Robin ever.
And the third Robin ever, because Tim Drake wouldn't have existed for what, 3 years, 4 years, maybe?
Something like that. 3-4 years. I'm not sure exactly when.
But yeah, she gets, and it's interesting because it's her crime being stopped is the first time you actually get sort of real confirmation that this is. I mean, you put the pieces together and now that yeah, it's Batman.
Mm-hmm.
But like this time, you see the batarangs going into this dude's arm,
and then the dude gets electrocuted, which, like,
dead.
I mean, they don't say he's dead, right? I don't think they say he's dead.
Well, no. That's the thing. That he can't be dead because that wouldn't work with the arc. If he had killed somebody like confirmed before like book 3, that would totally ruin like the impact of that. I feel.
Yeah, but like you then get this really nice frenetic, just this very frenetic sort of editing where like the news flashes come back and it's the news like over the course of this night the news anchors don't quite know what to make of it, and
I love the two cops then that get their first one of the first calls about Batman. It's the rookie cop and the older cop who knew Batman before. I fucking love the interaction between them. I know we watched. I'm not sure if Liz did, but we watched the animated adaptation, and I love the way they do that scene in the adaptation. It's perfect. I love it.
Oh yeah, I do too. Where they use the cover. Yeah. It's
Yep. So and then we get our first full page of Batman, and wow, that is gorgeous.
Oh my god.
Look at that thing.
The shading, the blue. Oh my god, I love the blue color.
And it does not match a lot of the rest of the way Batman gets drawn in this book.
I think that would have to do with how others view him, perhaps.
Maybe
because at that point it's not so much about this is Bruce Wayne becoming Batman again. It's to the public, this is Batman is back.
But yeah, you have essentially what you have is quite a few scenes of just Batman saving people again. And that's just sort of basically really what struck to me, and it was why I messaged you, Joey, like, where was this Frank Miller? Because it clearly gets the character. It's dark, it's gritty, but it's great, and you have this moment of then Batman realizing Two-Face is at large, and he's going to need to stop Two-Face, and he's acting the hero.
I love the inner monologue here where he takes down these guys as he like grapples up, and like the one pipe creaks because he's too heavy for it. I love the inner monologue there, like him like talking, like commentating on his own prowess here, because he realizes that he isn't as spry as he used to be. I love the way that's portrayed.
Do you think that's like? Do you think that that's just like an earlier version of like the? I mean, obviously it's in the same book, but do you think it was like an earlier version of like the like lucky old man type stuff that you would do later on?
Oh yeah,
it's definitely sitting the idea.
The same kind of inner monologue, yeah.
And with the return of Batman, we get something that happens the next day.
Which, oh god, I love it. I love it. Okay, I'm gonna say it now. I kept saying this to you guys. Joker's in love with Batman in every iteration. Joker is in love with Batman. Period. I do not give a fuck. Joker is in love with Batman.
Yeah, you seen his hair? He's gay.
God damn it.
I can say that. I can say it.
See, I don't quite like the coding in this book. It's not that I don't like the reading of the Joker as in love, as madly obsessed with Batman. The coding in this book, especially later, is just very weird. Like, especially the way he's drawn. It's this creepy, predatory smile.
Well,
and
I think that's also just how the Joker is supposed to be drawn.
Well, and still,
I mean, no, I see what he means, because like I feel like with the Joker here, it's a bit creepier. I feel it's a bit creepier than even a lot of other Jokers.
I think that's the point, though, isn't it? It's
well, yeah, no. But like,
this is the Joker waking out of a coma, pretty much.
Well, no, but like what I feel like Jacob is saying, like the whole predatory like nature of it. I feel like that is much more prevalent here than you would get in anything else, just because of like what it means for the character. Like I don't think there's any Joker that looks as, I mean, not as creepy, because
as creepy in that way. That type of creepy.
But also, like, and again, on what I was saying, like, is the Joker like aroused by the fact that Batman's back? Because all he says here is "Bubba Batman, Batman, darling."
That's why he's stuttering.
Which, goddamn. No, like seriously though, like that, I think that's totally the way it's meant to be read.
Just imagine that he's like stuttering. He says Batman. That's why he looks to the side in one of the panels. He's like, "Did anybody see that?" They gotta go incognito.
It's like, definitely it's definitely there, and you have the very interesting pro and anti Batman sentence.
Which pro Batman I think is interesting is Lana Lang, a Superman character. I don't know if you're familiar with her, Jacob.
I've heard the name.
Have you ever watched a certain country bumpkin show about man who crashes in field and is adopted with powers?
I've not seen Smallville. No.
Somebody said.
Oh wait, hang on. She's in I know you watched Man of Steel like she's in Man of Steel briefly.
Oh right, yeah, she's
the girl on the bus.
Yeah. She's a kid. And you get, I will say, I love the 4 panels with sort of the, like, I want to call him the astrologer, because he feels like an astrologer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the way this dude is drawn.
Because you see, basically, a lot of the rest of the issue is mostly dedicated to people reacting to the fact that Batman is back. Like,
I do love the bit where Alfred is massaging Bruce then. And I love the dialogue there. If it's suicide you're after, Master Bruce, I have an old recipe. I have a recipe for an old family potion. It's slow and working and quite painful. You'd like it. I love that. I think it's great.
So that there is a precedent for wheelchair detectives.
I love that. Like Miller really gets Alfred's dry humor. I really love it.
Yeah, and like you have the mutant leader making a declaration that he will kill Batman, and it's basically a bunch of reactions. The one that I think doesn't work the best is Carrie Kelly's parents.
Oh God!
Okay, elaborate.
It's just.
Well, what is it? Elaborate.
It's Miller pulling the centrist card.
Oh yeah, I kind of feel like it's super. I feel like it's super anti hippie, and I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, I don't think Miller agrees with Carrie's parents here.
No, I don't think he does. I think he's making a caricature. And a caricature that I don't think needs to necessarily be there.
Oh, I may have misinterpreted what it was supposed to be. What I was saying is that I felt like that he was like that he was kind of like all these hippies going around protesting and shit. They're wrong. They're bad, because they talk about having marched for stuff. and it just like it just like I feel like it just the way I interpreted it was Frank's like sort of future self kind of bleeding in and going, being progressive isn't that great.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think it's just saying Carrie's parents are a bunch of pretentious douches, and I really don't think it's saying anything more than that.
I don't know, but I mean,
I think you guys are reading into that way too much.
I just
We
think it's
might
just because
be.
given the atmosphere of this book, like the like the newscast, the stuff that happens later on involving like the Cold War, just like the whole fascism debate, like especially the fascism debate in regards to this, I feel like that's what he was doing. I 100% feel like that's what he was doing. He was like it's just, I don't know. That's just how I interpret it.
I suppose. All right,
Well,
so Bat Signal lights back up. Gordon meets with Batman on a rooftop. We get that famous scene again. I love it. It's a great moment.
you basically get a lot of classic Batman moments. You get this interesting thing of Joker planning something that won't get paid off for a while.
Chainsmoker Joker. We love him.
Basically, you get a lot of action building up to basically Bruce confronting Harvey.
Wait,
Also, Batman can use guns. Shut the fuck up, people.
He can use guns. He just can't use guns to kill people. Also, it's a grappling gun. It's not an actual gun.
Yeah, like, come on, it's a gun.
Well, it's also very much Miller being like, Batman would never use a bullet to harm people genuinely. Like, Miller takes a it's a red herring.
Yeah,
I love the one bit of inner monologue here, where Bruce gets shot in the chest, and he says, "Wow, why do you think I wear a target on my chest? Can't arm overhead, left arm numb, that whole thing." I like that idea. It's not used too terribly often, but yeah, like the bat symbol is like a target for people to shoot him.
No. Yeah. Actually, if I can go back to the idea of like the gun, I agree that it's okay for Batman to use guns like strategically. I just don't like the idea of him obviously threaten like hurting people with the gun, which he wouldn't do. I also don't like the idea of him threatening people with a gun. Like he's like, oh, like I have this gun, I'm pointing it at you, you know.
And it's telling that he doesn't do that here. He just shoots at a helicopter.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm just like giving my own like.
And we do some really good. We get some really good silhouettes. You have Bruce trying to save his friend Harvey. And you have this interesting image of how Harvey sees himself as, instead of his face being restored, as the acid burns being his entire face.
Both sides match. Like, oh god, I love it. It's a moment that really sticks with you, and it's just horrifying. I love it. I love it.
Reflection.
A reflection. Oh, so good. And that's where issue 1 ends. Moving to book 2, The Dark Knight Triumphant. We get Carrie Kelly Robin right off the bat, and God, I love this costume.
And it's
wait. Now I don't exactly particularly like the opening. I mean, obviously self-defense stuff just makes me a bit uncomfortable. But it just makes me a bit uncomfortable just with everything. Without going into it for people who don't want to deal with that right now. But one of my favorite lines in the whole book, and it's one of the lines that I still remember, like that I remembered before I read this. I think of Sarah, the rest is easy, is such a good line. Like, especially with how it comes back.
Oh yeah. They use that line a couple times throughout the book, and I really like them. I don't know. I do like the sort of joke fake out.
Yeah. Commissioner Gordon has been shot and killed. Wait,
sorry, Commissioner Gordon has shot and killed.
I love it.
Yeah, it's really fun.
But yeah, I love that we immediately go to Robin, Carrie Kelly doing Robin, because it's that great establishment that Batman is back, and that inspires people to do better. Which is such a good.
It's a great message to have.
It's a great message. I don't entirely like how that evolves by the end. End of the comic. But yeah,
more to discuss later. I'm sure. More to discuss later.
But you have.
Oh
Batman.
god, I love that one silhouette with Batman standing on top of the.
I'm looking at you in the bat.
Oh yeah, love that.
Leading
leading into one of the best scenes in the book. I love
Wait,
this.
no, wait. I need to say this. That's headcanon. That's the same bat. That's the bat from the cave. That's the bat that like found him. It's the bat that crashed through the fucking window. It's the same bat.
It is a mortal bat.
He just carries it with him. He's like, "Yo, dude, come on. We got some crime to fight. Let's go."
Well, yeah, you have sort of the mutants kidnapping a kid, and Bruce saving a child, and consoling said child. It's those tiny little things. There is a weird image of Bruce using a submachine gun.
Yeah,
I think that's.
and
I don't like it. I don't like it.
Oh, come on.
No, I don't know. Even if he did, I don't think he killed the person. That's the thing.
No.
It literally, like, I just don't. I really, really don't like the idea of. I like the idea of, like, again, I like the idea of Bruce using guns like strategically. Like, if he needs to, like, if he doesn't have anything on his utility belt, like, fire a gun, like, from a certain direction, run. Like, gain people's attention, have them go to that direction so you can get the jump on them. Or, like, what he does later in the book. I don't like the idea of him, like, directly shooting somebody. Like, I just don't.
I guess.
But yeah, you then you have the stuff of you have again more of this sort of more of the scathing commentary.
I think
where
the
you
commentary...
sort of see how insane Bartholomew Wolper is, like, because the man is insane. Like, it's Miller's sort of response to people who say, Gotham would be better off without Batman because Batman creates the supervillains.
But then also we play that alongside Batman creating another hero in Kori Kelly.
Now also,
so much fun. She is so much fun. It's so nice to have a female character written by Miller who isn't just a sex object.
Yeah, who doesn't suck.
Yeah.
Now, I want to say this. I also feel like if we want to look at Wolper from the more like real side, it's the idea that like one person should be held responsible for the actions of others when obviously Bruce is just doing his own thing. And now there's a difference between what he does here and what he does at the very end when he literally does take command of all these people. But like as it stands in book 2, as like with how things are, Bruce is just going out and doing this shit with no intention of like anybody really following on. He's just Batman. And it's kind of like that whole
he wants to just clean up his city again.
Yeah, it's like it's like the Batman equivalent of this video game caused violent shit to happen.
That's the exact same kind of argument here.
Yeah.
I love this next bit here with Batman dangling the guy above the rooftop. Also, I can't. I hate you, Liz, for this. You sent me that video of Adam West reading this exact, and I could not help. Like, I had this specific Batman voice in my head reading this entire thing, and then I got to this bit, and I just heard, "Do you know who I am, punk?" And it's just, I couldn't help but hear.
Worst nightmare you've ever had.
I couldn't help but hear Adam West.
Yeah, same.
So, if you guys haven't seen that, please look that up. There's a clip of Adam West reading Dark Knight Returns dialogue.
Oh, it actually makes me like sad that he didn't play Bruce in the animated movie, even though I love the casting in the movie.
Yeah, but you also have that great image of again Kori Kelly, great Robin, just on her own, taking down. I think it's implied to be a cockfight.
Yeah, it seems that way. Yeah.
Or people basically no longer being.
God, she has her like shit-eating grin on her face as she runs away. It's like, yeah, fuck you.
I love that where she's like running away.
Fuck you.
I just love how baggy the suit is too. Like it clearly doesn't fit her quite right. It's so great. Also, if we want to talk about the person that Frank Miller would become, holy shit! Look at this full page here.
Yeah, this is one of those flashes of like, oh. We're gonna,
which is why like you guys kept talking about like, oh, this is a small thing like who Frank Miller will become. No. This is it.
This is
this is it. This is Frank Miller, scared of an attack on the United States. And this is just
American exceptionalism.
Wow, I'm American. I'm Batman. I cloaked this guy's dead body in an American flag. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. beautiful panel. Beautiful
It
panel.
is.
But holy shit.
I also think it comes into like direct contrast with everything that happens later on. It's like, are you gonna tell me that this Batman gives a fuck about the American flag enough to put him in it? No, fuck you. You're wrong.
No. Frank Miller cares about the American flag, and
Yeah.
that's all it is.
Frank Miller showed up in like right before Batman showed up and put the flag on him, and Batman was like, "Yo, who was that guy?"
It's also interesting that at this point you get to the point where the authority shifts away from Gordon.
I was just about to bring that up, because again, if you want to talk about the man Frank Miller would become, we get sexist Jim Gordon here, where they announce Gordon's replacement as commissioner, to which Gordon's response is, "A woman, Christ Almighty."
Yeah, now here's the thing, which sucks because I kind of like Yindel. Like I like Yindel.
Yindel's such an interesting character because she has a point. Vigilantism is something that doesn't always work.
And all of the charges lobbied against him later on are like real charges, like things that he is actively doing that are against the law. Like she has every reason to like do what she's doing.
She really does. And then you get sort of the back half of the issue, which is dedicated to Batman's fight with the mutants.
Speaking of voices that I can't get out of my head, by the way, I love the dude that plays the mutant leader in the animated adaptation. Perfect voice for the character, and that's one that I can't get out of my head.
There are a lot of... I love the entire cast of that movie.
Oh, yeah. We'll talk about it more later, because obviously you watched it to coincide with your reading here. But I love the voice for the mutant leader in that. And speaking of things I love in this scene, the Batmobile, in other words, the Bat Tank.
It is Bruce taking names, and it's very important that it's rubber bullets. Now, rubber bullets can kill people. They're not the most dangerous, but he's clearly not trying to kill people. He is trying to
and also
break.
This segment has like my favorite panel in the whole comic, which is the Bat Tank with the head looking over at the mutant leader as the mutant leader says, "Come out, coward, face me, I kill you, eat your heart," whatever. That whole thing. Love that panel.
It's such an interesting looking perspective shot because it doesn't look quite real. Like
because I don't think the head can move like that of the Batmobile.
This
First
is
off,
entirely
the head of the
that,
Batmobile.
You're not supposed to get the idea that this is totally reality.
No,
I like the idea that Bruce has like look down switch.
It's a metaphorical thing. It's not just the size of the Bat Tank. It's the size of Batman, and Batman looking down at someone who thinks he owns Gotham City.
No, I want to say this too. If I can just talk about the world building here, like the building of like the kind of history. Like, obviously we have the Jason Todd thing, but like Dick Grayson's mentioned here, the idea that Dick is the one who named the Batmobile. It wasn't called that beforehand. It's the name a kid came up with. You find out that the Batmobile was modified, like to be this tank in riots, 5 years before Bruce retired. Like little things like that.
It's that message of hope. It's that message of hope coming through, and that Bruce needs a family. You know.
Also, what is this full page here of Batman cheesing as he comes out of the Batmobile?
I'ma get him!
That full page looks like something that would be an All-Star Batman and Robin the Boy.
Now here's the thing. I look at it right, and what I hear is the voice of Wilson Fisk from Spider-Verse. Just like that's what that sounds like. That's what I imagine him just like I'ma get him.
But yeah, you get the big action set piece of the fist fight while Carrie Kelly watches, who has not met Bruce at this point. And the interesting thing that she comes in to save Bruce using a crowbar.
My God, how did that happen?
I don't.
Because wow,
repurposed tools. Ha!
Like wow, you it's a complete coincidence, but at the same time, holy fuck, how?
Gotham just has an abundance of crowbars, man.
And while Bruce is being beaten up, all he can do is think of Dick Grayson. Think of his old friend.
Yeah.
who, you know, it's implied that he's had some sort of falling out with. You never actually get an explanation as to what happened with Dick.
Not in this book. No.
Jacob.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Dick Grayson is perfect. No, I don't
Jacob,
want to
we
know.
will read Dark Strikes Again someday.
Oh my god, I tried to fake cry and it actually started coming out as a real cry for a second.
Oh god.
And but yeah, you have Carrie Kelly saving her. And then we cut to Washington, D.C., where Ronald Reagan takes notice.
Okay, so...
And this is where you get some of the best political satire.
This is one of my favorite pages in the whole book. First off, the soldier standing outside the White House is clearly, like, meant to look more militarized than the average American soldier.
He looks like he's about to say that he's the law.
For real.
Which is very telling, considering this is during the era of Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
Like, at this point in history, let's remember, the AIDS crisis was in full swing.
I love the way Miller writes Reagan. I love the way that he has Reagan like avoiding direct confrontation just in this little conversation here. The whole "I love mints" thing.
He writes Ronald Reagan as the snake that he is.
Yeah,
I love medals,
and then let alone just the artwork there of the American flag turning into the Superman symbol. I love that. I fucking love that. And
he basically treats, even in this first sort of page, Superman like a dog.
Yeah.
And yes, sir.
Those last two lines saying, "Yes, sir, good boy."
Good boy.
Yeah.
No. Actually, if I can say, rereading this as we're talking may have just given me a better perspective on it, because you kind of get the idea that Clark is doing everything reluctantly, and he does not like the people in power.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is you definitely get the feeling that this is Superman compromising his own morals.
It's a real shame you don't know Tim Daly or George Newbern, Jacob, yet, because that's the Superman voice I'm hearing in this dialogue in particular, because it's very he should sound awkward around Reagan, I think.
Yeah.
He doesn't quite fully agree with him, despite the fact that we are in a position where Superman is directly answering to the president.
And immediately after that, you have this is setting up seeds. It's also setting up first like actual Cold War shit, because we are right in the era of Protect and Survive, that we're getting so close to the Berlin Wall falling and the end of the war, but we're not there yet, and the tensions are at their highest. And you have this nice quiet moment where Bruce can connect with Carrie.
And I love this bit where Alfred's talking to Bruce as he just like openly gives his identity away
to like a child, to a random kid.
Yeah. I love that. I also love like the way like Robin like acts in front of Batman. Where he's just like, "What's your name?" and she's like, "I'm Carrie, Kelly, Robin." It's so great. I love it. So great. At the same time, we have the mutant leader challenging Batman once again, but of course he's in custody. So how's that gonna happen? Am I right?
Oh god, that bit. It doesn't happen for a few more pages, but I remember like watching the movie. I was like, "Holy shit, that's graphic!"
And you have the Joker giving crocodile tears to get what he wants.
I love it.
But you have this scene in the cave. And that really, really nice panel of this is a point where you're just getting a lot of different perspectives. That's where this is a book that's kind of light on plot. It's a lot of different perspectives on things that are happening.
I'm assuming the panel you're about to talk about was Carrie looking at the Robin suit.
Carrie looking at Jason's suit, and you see a lot there.
It just says so much without saying anything at all.
No, I just want to say, like, just for the sake of joking, just imagine we're all misinterpreting it, and Frank Miller wrote that as Carrie Kelly looking at Jason's suit and going, "Oh, what the fuck happened to that loser?"
God damn it!
What a fucking loser!
Yeah, but while this is happening, it's intercut with some reports of other crimes popping up and people impersonating Batman.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, also. The mayor wants to talk to the mutant leader. Just, negotiate.
Wait, before we move on to that, let me actually say, one of the little bits, the very first little bit of the guy who like goes up and shoots up the porn theater, I actually think that's more of a commentary on the news seeing that Batman is back and seeing something totally and completely unrelated to Batman and calling it Batman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because this would also be, it perfectly fits, because this is the point in history where you're starting to get the 24-hour news cycle, and it's sort of the early modern wave of yellow sensationalist journalism where we must immediately connect stuff. It's also kind of prescient that a movie theater would be shot up in connection with Batman from a killer with orange hair.
Yikes.
Now I also want to say that, oh my god,
yikes.
Because life imitates art.
Now I want to say this.
I wonder. I wonder.
I think it's interesting to see this stuff, just because I think a lot of this, right, is super. I think that this specific segment of like people who are either being like described as being inspired by Batman, or people who like we know are inspired by Batman from like visuals, or just like stuff that we know like just from other little tidbits of details that don't directly say it, is that you kind of get this is a horrible tragedy where somebody who is a horrible person kills somebody who's innocent. And then what you get from the second bit of the one dude who's like a debt collector is him going out is a horrible person going after somebody who's also horrible. And then you get the good man who's sick of seeing bad stuff happen, and because Batman has kind of instilled this fighting spirit, he's sick of letting it happen. Like you get that bit of like his shop looks like a prison, even though like to him it's like a beautiful thing. It's this thing he has a lot of pride in, but to a lot of people it's this ugly symbol of the state of Gotham, of what Gotham's become since Batman left. And like there's somebody being attacked outside. He can't just let his block be tarnished anymore. It's his home.
Yeah.
And I also think it's just interesting, and I think this can really go with how like what's been happening over the past like year like 2 years with COVID. Obviously, you only ever see the bad stuff, and when the good thing happens, the good man going and fighting somebody who was hurting somebody else, saving somebody's life, it was people didn't get hurt badly enough for it to make the news.
It's interesting.
It like just with the past like even like the past decade, it just feels like you hear more and more about like shitty thing, tragedy.
And it's all building up to the climax of this issue, where you have spoilers, the gang gets taken down.
People are being inspired.
And it's also what's interesting is you see the toll it's taking on Bruce. He is getting beaten down. Like he's from the rest of this point, he is now in an arm brace. He's accepting Robin. There's that great full page spread of her hugging him.
But also kind of weird because isn't Bruce naked there?
Jesus Christ. Miller,
thanks,
why?
Frank.
Jesus Christ, Miller, why? What is it with you and your weird nudity in this book?
That's why he doesn't look like he's enjoying the hug. He's like, Harry, get the fuck off me. This is weird.
But you get this image, you get this idea that like the mutant leader ripped the mayor's throat out.
I love the way that's presented, though. If you look at like the newscaster on the top left of the page there, and then right down there, it's just like at this minute, the mayor is in conversation with the mutant leader, who has agreed to meet him alone. Meanwhile, the mayor's leadership quotient has soared. Excuse me, the mayor is dead.
Excuse me. Fuck. Now, I want to say, I actually think I like the way it's done in the movie in contrast, because I think the way it's done kind of, I don't know, the way it's done in the movie is different from how it's done in the book. Obviously, with the book, it's easier to get across this kind of like talking head. I don't know why it's easier. This kind of like talking head, like this
because it's print. Because we are in print.
Yeah, but like you look at like the movie, and you really get this sense of dread from it. Like it's like the type of shit that you'd hear, like the type of shit that you think like you'd hear later on when spoilers, a nuke goes off, you know? Like the mayor's dead. Like the way the guy delivers it in the movie is like what you'd think you'd hear when you get the news, like the Soviets just launched a fucking missile, you know? And I think that's really interesting to think about, just how different the interpretations are of certain bits.
So you have also the interesting thing. The interesting thing, just sort of trying to move us forward a little bit too, because there's I want to get to this back half where it gets really interesting and where it in the movie actually starts to deviate just a little bit. But you have this interesting line that sees a lot about how Miller sees Batman's motivations. I will never forget Jason. He was a good soldier. He honored me. But the war goes on.
I'm gonna fight with you on this, Jay, because I know you don't like this, but I like this. I like because Miller takes the idea that Batman's war on crime is a literal war, but only a literal war in Bruce's mind. It's easier for him to call it a war and to consider his family as soldiers, so that he doesn't have to deal with the pain when those soldiers inevitably leave him.
Maybe, but the problem is that idea then sort of
bleeds in.
Became everything that Miller would do with Batman as
well. My thing is the reason I don't like this, and the reason I like it removed from the Dark Knight, I mean removed from the rest of the Batman mythos and only here, is because the whole soldiers thing is another instance of like the public perception of Batman being this shit like that because of this book. Like this is who Batman is. He sees everybody in his life as a soldier. He's a soldier. Robin's a soldier. Nightwing's a soldier. Everybody's a fucking soldier. And that's not true. It's just how it is for this Bruce. This Bruce
because he's trying to avoid
but I don't think that's a reason to criticize this book in particular, because it
I'm
makes
not
sense
criticizing
here. Specifically for this Bruce who has gone through it all.
I think it's also more of a problem with the book being read as the definitive Batman.
Like a Batman this far in the future should not be applied to other Batman.
That's exactly what I'm saying. I want to clarify. I'm not trying to criticize the book. I'm just criticizing what the ideas this book has brought up has like been interpreted by people who don't know shit.
And we move to the climax, which is another fight.
I love Bruce taking Kori undercover, played alongside Gordon having like this big conversation with Yindel.
Yeah.
Now, wait, just my favorite
Gordon line. I have a feeling that you're not supposed to like Gordon at this point.
Well,
I don't get that feeling.
I think Miller is very much on Gordon's side, especially when you get the whole Pearl Harbor monologue.
No, I do not. I don't agree with that. I do not agree with that. I get what he's trying to say. I get that I get the purpose it serves.
But Frank Miller agrees with that.
Yeah. It's like okay, I'm gonna go into this spiel. Like if I can. I like the purpose it serves in the story. Like the moment that happens later on in book 4 is good. I'm not the kind of person who will ever believe that like anybody is too small to judge something. Like there is no single thing that's too complicated for us to judge. Like that's bullshit. Like
it is a very interesting sort of idea of throwing out the Pearl Harbor, because in history it is did Roosevelt know about Pearl Harbor coming?
But
it's one of those historical mysteries.
You could have gone the same route by saying that like Batman as a thing, like this is up to people's interpretation. Like it's not just we can't judge this. It should be we should judge this based on ourselves, I feel like. Because ultimately saying that is like saying, oh, this thing's too complicated, we can't judge it. Oh, like there's a bunch of moral stuff. Like, oh yeah, if Roosevelt knew, he just let people die when he was the only person who could have told people. But we won the war, and like it's like
and you have to be able to judge that kind of a thing. Because I don't necessarily think Miller gives a definitive answer.
Yeah.
Because they let them out, but immediately, instead of like running the city, Bruce has already set up the time and place.
Mm-hmm.
It shifts to the mutant leader being let out.
You come to say hello, old man? No, I came to say goodbye. Ah. And then Bruce
basically
just
telling him, get in the
makes fun of him.
vents.
He just fucking makes fun of him the entire time.
So good. A little monologue that Bruce says to the mutant leader as he's like leading him out into the sewage.
Can you smell the river yet? See the end of the pipe? The only thing between you and it is me. There are a bunch of really good, chilling Batman bits,
and it's this great one-on-one fist fight of metaphorically and physically beating down this gang and earning their respect.
At which point, and he makes sure that every single mutant gang member is there to see him beat their leader, and that changes a lot of their minds. A lot of the mutant gang members rebrand themselves as the Sons of Batman. And I was curious what you thought of that, Jacob.
I started by liking it. Then the end of the book happened, and
I like how they're utilized. I just don't know. I don't know.
We'll get into it.
It's very interesting because, again, and we end with Gordon walking away. Basically.
He's officially retired, and that sets up a whole new Gotham. Literally going into issue 3, a whole new Gotham.
Wait. Let me say this real quick. Let me because I started off the issue by talking about one of my favorite lines in the book. Gordon's arc essentially ends with him talking about how he could just give it all up. What is his secret? How can he just give up being the police commissioner after all this time? And he says it's a secret he will not tell people at the banquet where Yandel is officially made the commissioner. He thinks of Sarah. The rest is easy. That's my favorite. That's one of my favorite bits in the whole comic. That last little bit.
I love it.
Oh God, I'm not looking at this fucking page.
And yes, Jacob, that is indeed the same Sarah that you had a problem with in year 1.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, time to move to book 3. I go to page 1. I'm like, nope, and then I'm like,
nope. Time to talk about book 3. All right, who's ready? Who's ready?
So I'll do it.
I'm ready.
Swastika titties.
Swastika titties. Swastika ass. We love it. Look at it. Look at Frank Miller's.
Why?
Buy it, Joey.
Why did he think that was a good idea?
I think he's trying to do some sort of anti-Nazi critique,
which is a weird statement to make in 1986.
I mean, no. To be fair, I think it's. Let's be honest here. I'm always up for anti-Nazi critiques. It's just the way he does it here is super fucking weird.
It comes out of nowhere, and it's implied that she works for the Joker.
No, it isn't implied. It's
they say it directly.
Which I'm gonna say, I'm sorry. I find the Joker working with Nazis weird. He's a psychopath, deranged. This is the man who doesn't want to take on the IRS because they're the IRS.
And also the guy who fought the Red Skull because he was like, oh shit, you're an actual Nazi? Fuck you.
I have a feeling that even the Joker would say no to Nazis.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I just don't like. I don't know if he would just because of how fucking evil he is, but I don't want to compare him to those real life things.
It's so weird. Also, it's just weird. Why boobs? Why on the boobs and the butt?
Because
it makes no sense.
I don't know. Nazi and ass.
Was that a thing?
I doubt it. I doubt it.
And then you also have Bruce going on about 7-Eleven sells this for $2.50.
7-Eleven.
I love it.
This is.
I remember
we should do a motion comic where Jacob voices that.
Just that part of Bruce.
Yeah.
I remember you sent that picture to me, Jacob, and you're just like, "What the fuck is this?" And I said, "It's just Frank Miller." I really don't know what more to say. But I don't know.
Now here's the thing. That implies that Bruce is a really good voice actor.
I think he is.
You do get your first view of the snake here.
I love it. I love how he draws Reagan.
It is well because he's very much it's weird. He's very much criticizing the American exceptionalism that Reagan embodied. Like he's draped like a religious figure in the stars. It's so weird. Well, you have Robin and Batman doing their thing. Yeah.
Let's get through this segment as fast as we possibly can.
Yeah, can we get to the good stuff?
So Bruno Nazi fight. Superman comes in. There we go. I love that they don't actually show Superman. I love that Superman tosses Bruno through this wall and wraps Bruno in these pipes and Bruce and says, "Bruce, we have to talk." Bruce replies, and Superman says, "Fine, we'll talk later." And he flies away, and you don't actually see it.
Here's the thing: it's this weird, like they're still friends. They're still friends. Because you have again the weirdness of the mutant gang, which put Gotham in fear, starting to do the same, but in Batman's name, which I think is.
Well, I think the idea is that they're still the mutant gang just fighting for Batman, and that needs to change, and they will change that. But it's very deliberate. Like they haven't actually changed their ways; they're just doing it for a different person's name. That's it.
They will change that. Same bat time, same bat channel.
You have what I would say is a fairly iconic page of Batman.
I love that page. I love that
this
page.
This could be the thumbnail we used for the episode.
I'm going with the lightning bolt for the thumbnail.
Yeah,
I was about to say don't go with the lightning bolt.
Yeah, but
I love this image.
It's so nice, so nice. I mean, Frank Miller is not a bad artist.
No,
most of the time.
Yeah, you have everything. You have the weird doll thing, which I never got. Like, it's supposed to be the Joker's, but like, I never got it. But like, it's
they're famous Batman villains, Tweedledee and Tweedledum. No, they're not.
Yeah, it's building up to essentially the first time we actually see Superman as Good Morning Gotham plays. Basically giving us our really good.
But even then, you don't see him as Superman. You see him as Clark.
As Clark talking with Bruce. Well, in the background, here's where we really get like the Cold War is becoming hot.
Which, by the way, that shot of Clark there. When I was gathering panels for this, the panel I gathered after that happened to be the one of the Joker as he comes out on stage, and him and Clark are like in the same pose.
Interesting, because
it's really weird with that big
because Miller does not like Superman.
They're in the exact same pose, and they're all like buff on top, and like their chest is extended. It's weird.
Yeah, it's except really Superman just looks gayer.
It looks like a romance novel cover a little bit.
It does. Clark Kent is a romance novel cover.
I mean,
the romance novel about like a 70-year-old alien talking to his 70-year-old best friend, except he doesn't age.
Yep, love it. We get some more lovely Ronald Reagan in star-spangled suit alongside Clark and Bruce talking. I love their conversation here though, about like what happened to the rest of the league over the years, what they all decided to do.
Yeah, it's interesting. And you see Clark basically being a soldier for America, which is again interesting, an interesting portrayal. You do get the feeling that he's not necessarily loving what he has to do.
But he almost said he's doing it out of necessity, but also is still devoted to it at the same time.
And you basically see everything sort of pieces moving into place of Batman trying to figure out what's going to be happening next. If the Joker's planning something, clearly he knows the Joker's planning something.
Yeah.
The Joker planning his shit.
The little flying doll people.
The flying doll people is another one of those. What the fuck, Miller? just what?
Yeah, not sure about that.
Joker had them laying around since the Silver Age and just never let go of them.
Yep. Gindel officially has like a task force out for Batman. So while Batman's trying to investigate the whole Joker thing, this police squad is after him. Uh, Meanwhile, one of my favorite scenes in the comic here is Joker on the talk show, which I don't know. I love this scene. I really
Oh
do.
no, I like it's a great scene. I would love
Also,
to hear Mark
it is
Hamill do this scene.
it is insane how much influence this comic has on so much comic book media because this is the talk show scene from Joker, pretty much.
Basically, yeah. Uh, except, I think in
More
this
than
context,
one person gets what they fucking deserve.
I love that. But yeah, like he's like open about how he wants to kill them. He's like, I'm going to kill everyone in this room. Now that's darn rude.
No,
It's
that's
so
darn rude.
and you don't have Bruce there to save them. And you have the weird. You do have Miller's weird take on Freud that it's all sex.
yeah. That is a character that when I sat down to rewatch the animated film, I was like, why did they cut that character? Oh yeah, that's why.
That's why.
Yeah.
That's why.
Now, here's the thing. I actually like the animated film's interpretation of this scene
Yeah,
more.
honestly, it's fucking brutal how he like slices the guy's throat with the coffee mug. I love that.
Oh no, it's not even that. It's the like, breathe, David.
Oh yeah. As the talk show host is played by Conan O'Brien.
Conan O'Brien.
Which is perfect.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so yeah, so Joker gasses the whole room. Everyone dies, of course. He flies out on riding on the flying doll thing,
which is so weird. Again, we're back into weird territory.
We get a gorgeous full page of Superman. I love that drawing of Superman there.
Mm-hmm.
Of Superman just trying to save the world. Because you get another thing. You get so much of this Corner Maltese crisis.
Mm-hmm. So Jacob, I need to know, as the man who hated Selina Kyle in year one, what did you think of Selina Kyle in The Dark Knight Returns?
Yeah, but I need to hear this.
She feels more like Selina Kyle here.
I agree.
Like I don't entirely like that she's an escort, but it's nowhere near
she's not an escort herself.
She's running the escort. Yeah. She's running this agency. I don't entirely like it, but it tracks better, and she feels like Selina. And it does in the end pluck at the shipper heartstrings in me.
It does. Yeah, it does. It really does. We'll talk about that more in a couple pages.
And it's also really important because she's like the one person who's just like, well, I can't have Bruce. May as well just have a semi-normal life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just making her way in the world.
Yeah.
And then the Joker steps in.
Yeah, and like, oh my god, and she's terrified. I
want to see Hamill and Adrienne Barbeau play this scene.
Oh, that'd be great. That would be great.
It would be so good. It would be so creepy.
Yep. And actually, on that, Adrian and Conroy, I would love to hear that in the later scene when they're together.
Yeah,
that would be great.
But yeah, it's racing Batman versus the Joker.
Yeah, and we're back to where we were before. This is what Joker is here to do. It's putting Batman back to the status quo. Joker, this little switch flicks in Joker's head when he sees that Batman is back, and he's back to the way he was before. Batman has changed over time. Joker, absolutely not.
No, he hasn't. He's almost gotten more ruthless.
Mm-hmm.
And so you move. And while this is all going on, it's all parallel with Superman just trying to keep the world held up.
Yeah. Which, while Batman does his own small world of Gotham, he protects the small world of Gotham. Superman saves the entire world.
And right after that, you see just how bad Joker's beaten on Selina, forced her into a Wonder Woman costume,
and then I don't know.
So creepy.
I don't know why the bit, the little panel where Bruce and Selina kiss. I don't know. I love that. I fucking love that
because it clearly feels that it clearly feels that Bruce and Selina, had Jason not died, they probably would have ended up together. And
yep.
That would have caused a retirement.
Yep.
And it feels
like a genuine romance. Yeah,
they're still on the run. You get this great idea of Yindel, um, who's you know uh, this great. She's like, right, add child endangerment to the list.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. And then we get this
but
nice little moment
Bruce
where
tells him, like, no, you need to go save the governor because I can't do it.
we get this great little moment where Bruce and Carrie glide away, and Carrie almost falls. And you get that soldier idea again, but I love it here because it's this emotional moment between the two of them, and Bruce pushes that emotion away by calling her a soldier again. I love that.
Well, I think it's here. It's basically trying to set up Bruce's eventual fall,
Yeah,
because that's what
yeah,
this back half is supposed to be doing. Um, because, like, again, we get another interlude of Superman, and it's escalating. The violence is escalating. He's getting trouble to stop it, and then we go to the Carnival Sequence.
Oh God.
Oh, you sound like you have something to say, Liz.
Oh no, I'm just saying it's so like the moment it starts, like a bunch of kids die. You know it's
Yeah,
gonna be a fucked up sequence.
like everything, like people it just becomes a slaughter because the Joker's just giving out cotton candy.
Yep.
Um,
He sees Batman flying in the sky again and thinks to himself, darling,
He
again.
looks up into the sky again and goes, "Yo, I do be pretty gay."
Another great full page here of Bruce and Carrie. I love that shot of them.
and
There's
he
just something about
starts,
like a warmer color palette, like in
Yeah,
contrast with Batman.
it's a very nice contrast from the rest of the book.
and everything then goes green as the gas is released. And
Uh,
he,
Batman tosses a batarang into the Joker's eye, which is a great image. I love that. As Carrie tries to deal with this Joker henchman that on the roller coaster here, the Joker takes this hostage into the House of Mirrors. I love this kid. He's like, "You're the Joker, right? Batman's gonna kick your ass."
It sounds like
uh,
somebody we know. Definitely
um,
not a certain Brian.
and I fucking love it then when Bruce saves the kid and the kid goes, "You gotta kick his," and Batman's like, "Watch your language, son." It's the funniest thing. I love it.
and it's all leading up essentially to a final confrontation between Batman and the Joker. Um,
Which rightfully so takes place in the tunnel of love.
and
Now, actually, if I can say now, before we get to this last bit, we have seen that Clark is kind of right. Bruce can't just keep doing this. He's burning himself out. He's getting older. Like, just doing this has probably made him slower now than he would have been if he had stayed retired.
Yeah.
well, he is getting beaten to hell,
Yep.
and it's the interesting thing of Bruce won't kill the Joker, so he snaps his own neck.
Well, before that, I did want to mention what happens with Carrie, because Carrie sees this guy's head just fucking explode on the roller coaster, and that fucks her up.
Oh yeah, it breaks her.
Yeah.
Oh, if I can say this too, actually, just in regards to what Carrie goes through, and also the running theme of Bruce being like, "How many more people am I going to let you take? How many more people are going to die because I let you live?" He counts Carrie's innocence as part of that.
Yeah. The Joker continues to stab Bruce in this. Bruce can't even make it out of this without damn near killing the Joker. He paralyzes the Joker by almost snapping his neck completely, and Joker just finishes the job for him, saying, "I'll see you in hell." And wow, that's just horrible. And I love that last panel. Probably the best last panel of all the issues here. I love
Yeah,
that image there. It's just
yeah,
so good.
and
It's
then
just
we
like
get
the implication is, for people who don't know, Bruce may not have killed the Joker, but the police don't know that. So now, as far as everyone else is concerned, Bruce is a murderer.
And this, I think, is officially our second longest episode, and we're just going on to the last issue. So
this
You're
is what
welcome.
happens when we have a guest.
This is what happens
true.
when I'm here specifically.
This-
I always
this is
I
true.
make the calls go to 4 a.m.
This is true. So, unlike all the rest of the issues, there is no time jump between issues 3 and 4. We pick up exactly where we left off because Bruce isn't quite in a position to get out of this easily. He's still being pursued by police. He's still been stabbed about 10 times. How does he get out of this?
Gun.
We even repeat the panel of Carrie seeing the guy's head explode. It's that same panel of her just looking mortified as she cries looking at it.
And suddenly just a bomb goes off.
Joker's body is rigged to explode. And I love that panel where you just see Joker's smiling face in his skull as he
the like stop
by
laughing.
Flames. Yeah. Oh, I love it. So good.
And you have this idea of Bruce blacking out. Carrie's just trying to find him. And this is where you see actually this is where you really get Bruce dressed all in gray and the darkest colors that he's been.
To the point where his skin is fucking gray because he's dying.
Yeah.
Because they're bringing in just missiles. The cops are being relentless. Again, this is the point where you really started to get the militarization of the police force in America. Thanks, Reagan.
Bruce, they do have, of course, escape eventually, but Bruce is still not in anything in a good condition at all. He's not going to make it out of this easily, but that's Bruce. He's still going to get right back up, and
you see the heartbeat for the first time.
Yep, we start building that idea up, and I love that.
And you have this one image of Superman before that where he just looks sad, like ooh.
Mm-hmm. Like and as Bruce says, "You look tired, Kent."
Yeah,
I love it. I like that one almost full page of the one Son of Batman.
Yeah,
that's nice.
It's interesting because you have them sort of becoming disparate. Like,
wait. Let me say, did you just say that guy was Bruce?
Huh?
Did you say that the guy who said you look tired, Kent, is Bruce?
I don't think it is because he's wearing glasses.
No, I'm saying I'm saying. Did you say that, Joey? I think you said that.
I did. Yeah. Wait, who is it then?
That isn't Bruce.
That's not. Reagan.
That's just a random. It's just a random dude.
No, it's just a guy. Yeah, it's just a guy.
Yeah, he's wearing glasses.
Who the fuck is it then?
It's probably somebody who works at like the Daily Planet or something.
That's.
Yeah, because you go back to him.
Do you?
Yeah, on the next page. Flip the page. Guy with glasses right before Superman flies off.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So who the fuck is it then?
Bruce is like terminally like dying, and he spectral like he fucking like astral projects his soul to Clark just to tell him he looks tired because he's an asshole.
Because as Bruce is dying, as the Sons of Batman are kind of causing anarchy in Batman's name, the Cold War goes hot.
Yeah.
Is that Perry then?
Probably. I'd
probably
say
Perry, yeah.
Because in The Dark Knight Strikes Again, he mentions that like the gang is still alive.
Yeah. It's also on that page that we get like my favorite line from Reagan and all of this. Well, folks, I got some good news and some bad news. The good news is that the Soviets have withdrawn their forces from the island of Corto Maltese. And the bad news, well, it looks like those Soviets are some pretty bad losers. Yes, they are.
I like how you threw in the little chuckle too, because it's just so on brand. Like,
it's so great.
Well, it's Reagan, and you have Reagan perfectly protected, where the American people
as he's just ready to abandon the human race.
Yeah, like every president is.
It's so great. I fucking love it. It's so good. But as Jacob said, anarchy starts to break out in the streets. This missile is heading over. Clark is there trying to stop it. He can't do very much because the most he could do is divert it. He's still going to be part of whatever explosion that it's in.
And
Bruce forces himself to get up. He puts on his bat suit again. He's ready to go out. He says, "To the stables, Robin." which sets up for this great final confrontation that you just know Batman's going to be right.
Here's the thing: you have
holy
the
horse,
bomb
Batman!
Go off, and the pulse, just everything goes quiet. It's that creepy. We'll all go together when we go idea. And all hell breaks loose.
Yeah. So we properly established here that the mutants that decided to not become Sons of Batman are still just regular mutants.
Yeah, like some of them just wear Nixon masks for whatever fucking reason.
As you do.
Yeah, as one does.
So Bruce rides into the middle of this on a horse and delivers this amazing speech as these guys are holding shotguns. I love it. I love this speech. This is the weapon of the enemy. We do not need it. We will not use it. Our weapons are quiet, precise. In time, I will teach them to you. Tonight, you will rely on your fists and your brains. Tonight, we are the law. Tonight, I am the law. Let's ride.
I like how the one fucking son of Batman is like, God fucking damn it. Like
but
he's like, dude, this is my game.
I like the subtle change they made for the movie.
I don't know. I prefer the weapon of the enemy line.
These are the weapons of cowards.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm with Jacob. Yeah, get fucked.
And what's interesting is you don't see you see Gordon in the chaos looking for his wife, and he kind of drops off for a while. Like,
oh no, he's still active.
I kind of like how they utilize him.
Yeah, that he is like, that he is just another person there in the chaos. But because we know Gordon as a character already, we can follow him and use him as our point of view character.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. It's perfect.
And
this is also watching it all happen, not fucking doing anything, just watching.
This is the scene where Yindel finally changes her mind on Batman because Batman finally proves himself as a force for good.
And I love how you have Gordon inspiring others to fight the flames as riots, essentially.
Bro, he didn't inspire them. He pointed a fucking gun at them. It's like, give me water now. Give me fucking water.
And we catch back up with Superman, who is not only fucked up from the radiation of the bomb, but also gets struck by lightning.
This is one of my favorite sequences of the book. Just him like referring to Earth as like his mother, like your adopted son will protect, will like honor you. Like I'm like all these people, they don't like they take all of you for granted. Like you can't hurt, you can't touch anything on Earth without destroying something precious. Like he really puts a lot of stake in the human race and the planet he's on. And I think it really, really demonstrates why he's doing what he's doing, why he's become this kind of like political pawn.
And despite Miller not being too big on Superman as a character, he really does get Superman in these moments.
He gives it moments.
Yeah, in the moments, yeah.
And then you have a very good break just to see the chaos still going.
Well, we flash forward and we get these interviews with these couple people that were part of the chaos the night before as we see the chaos still happening.
Yeah, and it's
one of whom Bruce just like picks up over his fucking head while he's on a horse and just chucks him. It's like, damn.
It's great. It's great.
The guy deserved it though.
Yeah, and they eventually like put out the flames. Unfortunately, though, of course, a bomb still did go off. Apparently, ash is covering almost the entire U.S. I believe they say.
Yeah,
right?
No, we're in nuclear winter. We are in nuclear fallout. There's probably a fuck ton of radiation that they're not talking about.
Oh no! I think what it says in the book is that that specific missile was designed to simulate a nuclear winter. Like it's not meant to be a direct nuclear winter. It's meant to simulate the effect of it.
Interesting.
Oh, that's right. Okay, I see that on the page after. Yeah.
One of the things I want to say about it is one of the interesting bits. Obviously, it's one of the things they touch on is that Gotham is the only place in the entirety of the U.S. that isn't in disarray. Mm-hmm. One of the things they say in like the panel where like Reagan looks like he's in fucking PJs, talking to Clark. Is that there's a civil war in the Midwest, which I think is just interesting. It just shows how far like what something like this would do in terms of like the political spectrum of the time.
Also, on that Reagan panel, the soldiers behind them are even more militarized and just don't even have faces at this point.
They're the faceless war machine.
I
Whereas
love Judge
Reagan is
Dredd.
still just clinging on to the power of we need to make the media happy.
And then, completely out of left field, Oliver Queen shows up.
And he's missing
My
an arm.
boy,
So
5 years on an island.
Jacob, what is your history with Oliver Queen,
I-
aka Green Arrow, before this?
I have actually seen at least 2 whole seasons of Arrow.
The good seasons.
Good seasons. And I've
Actually,
seen,
no, season 5 is quite good, but the first 2 seasons are.
I think I saw most of 3.
The first half of 3 is pretty good.
But I like Oliver Queen as a concept. Not he's here for.
I'm sure you know that Oliver Queen of the comics is just a lot more lighthearted and funny than Arrow presents him as.
Yeah, because Arrow's just Batman.
Pretty much. Yeah, but I do love him in this. I like that he has like a personal score to settle with Superman. They imply that Superman is the reason that he's missing an arm, right?
Yeah.
That's terrifying. Dude, imagine this indestructible alien you were on a team with, you know the shit he's capable of. He just takes your arm and just goes yoink. That's scary as fuck.
Without spoiling Elseworld stuff that we'll probably be doing eventually, my god, what does Superman have out for Green Arrow? Like, holy shit. Wow.
But you have Bruce essentially planning with Oliver. Again, because Reagan, being the fucker that he is, basically forces Clark to confront Bruce.
Yeah. And I love this bit where Clark just uses his heat vision to write in the ground where, and Bruce decides their battleground is Crime Alley. So,
I just think that there are certain bits in this, right, that don't really. There's like a cinematic thing to it. Excuse me, I'm eating. There's like a cinematic thing in it. That like I don't really get from a lot of other comics. Like, I can imagine Bruce, like, looking up and going, Crime Alley. Like, you know? Like, music blaring or, like, totally silent.
Oh, yeah. It doesn't quite lend itself to literature as easy as... But then also, this is a comic. You know, you're not just reading it on a page.
There's visuals. Yeah. But you have the interesting stuff of Bruce getting ready, and he is dying.
Mm-hmm.
Alfred is just like, shall I prepare another stimulant? Why delay your very first cardiac arrest?
Alfred is so great in this.
I like how he's wearing the little the little fucking thing on his head that like I don't even know what exactly that's for. I get that it's like a stereotypical doctor thing, but I am a Gen Z dumbass and I've never seen that on a doctor in real life.
It helps.
I was gonna say, Jacob, what is that?
It helps catch the light.
Thanks, Mr. Science Man.
There's a reason we don't see them much today in the modern day because electronic lights are so good, and emergency power generators. But this is the 80s.
I got you. I thought it may have been like something that like reflected light.
Yeah, it's essentially a mirror.
Thank you, Mr. Science Man.
Yeah. So we see Bruce take this little pill with the inner monologue in 1 hour at midnight, a grand death. And then
what's interesting is you also have the media hyping this up like fight of the century, almost saying come and watch.
So I'm curious, Jacob. Dark Knight Returns is a very famous story for many different reasons, but this scene has got to be the reason. What did you know about the comic version of this fight going in?
I knew that it was a fight.
Seriously, you didn't know anything about it? Because I remember before I even read this, I knew that I was like Bruce fakes his own death. I knew about that. I knew Oliver was involved in the end because with Kryptonite Arrow. I didn't know that before going in.
Sorry, I really like that. What did you know about this fight going in? That it was a fight?
Yeah, no, I knew that this was the fight versus Batman and Superman, and that inspired Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice.
This is where we get the famous mech suit that he tends to fight Superman. This is where that originates.
It's all done through inner monologue. We don't see a lot, and it's being monitored by the government.
I think also I pointed this out when I was watching the movie again. I said like because I was watching it with my brother because he had never seen it before, and I said I was like the government's there, not just to monitor it, not to like give Superman an unfair advantage, but because they know Bruce is a sneaky cunt and like he's probably gonna like have some sort of outside influence, which they're right about. But I love
And yet
that.
they
I
still
really
don't
like.
do jack shit.
I mean, they attempt to stop Oliver.
They attempt to stop Oliver, but they shoot him, and then don't shoot him while he is a sitting duck. It's like, dude, he is right there. He's just a guy. There are like 20 of you. Just shoot him. If you... Now, actually, if I can say something, I think if I were writing this, I would change just to add a little bit of something to it. The whole like in 1 hour at midnight, a grand death. I want the significance of midnight to be something else. I want it to be midnight because I want I want like midnight to be like the signifier that it's the day that it like it's gone from one day onto the day Bruce's parents died. That's why
sick,
it's significant.
That'd be cool. But also, we don't get any dates in this, so we can't quite be sure about that.
But you have just the brutal fight, and Bruce gets his ass handed to him.
Oh yeah, like here's the typical like Bruce Wayne tricks up his sleeve, but honestly, in the end, Superman is Superman.
Superman beats Batman in a all-out fight, essentially. I mean,
but also Frank Miller thinks Batman is God, so Oliver gets kryptonite arrow in, Clark is weakened, and this gives Bruce the advantage that he needs. Superman is able to see that Bruce is dying, and this also causes Clark to like soften up on him and sort of pull his punches because he just does not want to see his friend die because Clark does not want to do this. Bruce is the one that instigated this fight in the end. Well, of course, and Ronald Reagan, but
that's such a funny sentence. Batman instigated this fight, and Ronald Reagan.
And it was mostly Ronald Reagan. It was mostly Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan killed Batman.
This is Batman's equivalent. This is Batman's equivalent of Superman fighting Muhammad Ali. Like, and then Bruce takes on the Reagan administration.
So, but Bruce has some interesting things to say in the end here. Now look at us. I become a political liability, and you're a joke. And then we get the famous line: "I want you to remember Clark in all the years to come. In your most private moments, I want you to remember my hand at your throat. I want you to remember the one man who beat you."
I read it out loud earlier when I was reading it.
It's so fucking good, and that's got to be like that's one of like the defining Batman lines in all of comics.
Oh yeah, no. For people who don't know, Batman v Superman that is directly inspired by this book. Yeah, how it was revealed at Comic-Con was Zack Snyder had somebody come on stage and read that, and then like the lights went dark and the fucking bat and like the Superman symbol appeared on screen, and then the bat symbol appeared behind it. So
and they showed the mech suit there, like, oh god, so just I remember being a fan.
I don't think it was then, was it?
What's up?
I don't think they did that then because it was like when they went.
No, they did that then, and they showed the suit, and it was the bat signal there.
No, you're thinking of the trailer reveal.
That wasn't the trailer. No, they only had like a 30-second teaser, and it was that same event.
Okay, I might be misremembering then.
But I remember like just being a fan, like excited for that film at the time. I still love the film. But just like having that there and like just seeing these, they wouldn't reveal anything HD of that online at the time. And just being so excited because it is just this comic through and through. And I love that panel of Clark holding Bruce's dead body. It's just, it's heartbreaking. I love it.
We did skim over a really good line that inspires another really good line, and though I don't exactly agree with it.
Which one?
In regards to Superman, you sold us out, Clark. You gave them the power that should have been ours, just like your parents taught you to. My parents taught me a different lesson. Lying on this street, shaking in deep shock, dying for no reason at all. They showed me that the world only makes sense when you force it to.
That's also that one was directly translated to Bats v Soups, I think, right?
Not entirely, because he says dying in the gutter for no reason at all.
Yeah, it's the "you aren't brave, men are brave," that whole thing, which also is from here because he says that he's not a man, that whole thing. I also love the one line when he's talking about the kryptonite arrow, saying it wasn't easy to synthesize Clark, took years and it cost a fortune. Luckily, I had both.
No, I do want to say again. One, the idea that that's something that Clark's parents would have told him to do is bullshit. Two, Superman is a man. There's like obviously he isn't biologically human, but he's still a man. That's who Superman is characterized as.
I think a lot of this is a lot of this
Clark
fight
being
is
it's just Bruce being a little shit.
Here's the thing.
yeah.
Here's the thing, Liz. I think this is meant to be Clark Kent's redemption.
Yeah, because
I liked. Now I don't know how the sequels play it.
okay, just on the book, just on this one book, Jacob. I think you're right. Yeah, it's Clark's redemption. It's about Batman proving a point to him. It's not.
It's part of the reason why I don't like the final panel and the actual ending as much.
We'll get on that in a second. We'll get on that in a second, Jacob. Wait for the final panel. First off, Alfred fucking dies, and I love the little inner monologue here. The world turns ruby red, the manor roof rises madly into the sky, riding a pillar of flame. A jolt travels the length of Alfred's spine. Of course, he thinks, as his head goes light, how utterly proper.
That makes me so sad because it gives me this like distinct impression that like this is a version of Alfred who hasn't lived a happy life because of Bruce. Like he's in this thing. He doesn't want Bruce to have this life, and in the end, it killed him. It's so fucking sad. I love my boy.
Beautiful.
And we have the funeral for Bruce Wayne. The media reporting on it. That Batman has been identified as 55-year-old billionaire Bruce Wayne, and his death is proven as mysterious as his life. And you see the rage.
They say he's 50. They say that he's 50, but he looks like 71.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I think it's weird then, because they say he's in his 50s here, but then if you were to take the direct Frank Miller idea of if he were to age in real time from the 30s to now, he'd be in his 70s.
Would he? Yeah.
Yeah, because he's like roughly in his 20s when he first starts as Batman.
Yeah. But yeah, you have that great image of Selina just wanting to attack.
I love it. And Gordon holding her back, just I love it. Wayne Manor goes up in flames. All of Bruce's secrets go down with him.
Actually, you know what? I think I just realized something. I don't think that he was doing it as he's been Batman since like Batman first appeared. It's that he was born around the time Batman first appeared in real life. Because in that case, then it would have been 50 something years.
Yeah. But if he was born when he was first created, he would be in his 50s. But the way he worded it in this 30th anniversary edition is that he would age from when.
It sounded like he wanted it to be in his 70s.
Yo, Frank Miller just can't do math, y'all. Damn.
And you have this great image of Carrie Kelly at the grave, Clark walking away.
And then and Bruce saying that like he didn't get his timing quite right because Clark still heard this little heartbeat in the end and noticed that Carrie was there. And that's the end of Clark's redemption arc. It's him weakening to Carrie, knowing that everything's gonna be okay, and he lets it go and he walks away. Here's why this ending works, Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've said it to you before because I know you didn't like the ending to begin with. I love this last page. I like the idea of Bruce still being alive. It's a good, hopeful ending because Bruce is no longer after this death that he has craved from the beginning. It's about his life now. The final line of the comic is so fitting. This will be a good life, good enough, because it's this perfect fulfillment. If you're going to talk about redemption arcs, this is Bruce's redemption arc too.
Now, if I can also say, I think this like his relationship with Carrie also lends to this, because one of the things that happens is like Carrie's like, "Are you going to die?" He says, "I figure," or something like that. Yeah, figure I will. He says it in a way where I have a feeling he was saying it in the way that she would say it, with like just the way that like people her age talk in this book.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't entirely like that he's just in charge of this militia. Like,
yeah, I don't either, but
no, it's that fulfillment of that same speech from before. Our weapons are quiet and precise. I will teach them to you in time. This is that. That's the fulfillment of that.
This is the alternate version of the Justice League where Batman just leads them.
Which, I mean, doesn't he do that to begin with?
Nah.
All right. Well,
don't give my girl Diana that kind of flack.
I will say, even with the ending, you still don't need any fucking sequels. This should be the end.
Absolutely not. I remember you said to me, "You're like, Bruce should have died in the end." I was like, "Look, I disagree with that, but realistically, knowing what was to come in this same continuity, yeah, maybe they should have just fucking killed him."
Yeah, maybe they should have killed him given everything.
Or if they were gonna do sequels, Carrie Kelly should be Batman.
No, what you see what they do is to prevent the Dark Knight strikes again, he dies. To prevent All-Star Batman and Robin, somebody goes back in time and kills Bruce.
Yes. But
And then
so that
but
was
forces him to eat rats.
that was The Dark Knight Returns. Overall, Jacob, thoughts?
again, it's the better of the Frank Miller ones. It's still got its problems. It's got some very weird moments, especially around issue 3 and 4. I really like in the movie how they add Gordon inspiring people in the end. Like that they add Sarah Essen as a character for a few minutes.
Actually, yeah, let's talk about the animated films for a second. We obviously talked about them a lot throughout this because the films are a straight adaptation.
Bar a couple of structural changes, like
so
the changes are basically we need to change this for the structure of two films.
Yeah, they made a more direct distinction between like the first half is about Two-Face and the mutants, and the second half is about Joker and Superman. And so they moved
Joker and Death.
Yeah, so they made all the Joker like scenes from before in issues 1 and 2. They moved all of those into the second film. They moved every single.
I think issue 1 and 2 are technically both longer than 3 and 4.
Yeah,
I think so too.
Yeah.
If I could say, the soundtrack, holy fuck.
Oh yeah, great.
Oh my
soundtrack.
God, I didn't think that kind of music would work with Batman. And
the casting of the film was
what
perfect.
a great cast. Peter Weller as Bruce is fucking brilliant. Like,
I about lost my mind when I found out he was RoboCop. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, he's brilliant. He's brilliant. You also liked, what was it, the guy that played Gordon, right, Jacob? Because you're a Dark
David
Shadows
Selby.
fan?
Yeah. He's basically an American character actor. Who he'll pop up in TV shows from time to time, but he just gives a really good performance.
I love the dude that does Superman in the films. He's really great. Yeah.
When you brought up hearing like Tim Daly and George Newbern in the book, I was like, no, I'm so ingrained in that, like in this universe from the movie.
See, I'd only seen the films like twice before, just this past week. So they weren't like like drilled into my head. The book is drilled into my head because I've read the book quite a few times, but the film's not so much. So you also watched. I had you watch Batman v Superman, the Ultimate Edition, for the first time. You'd seen the theatrical.
I'd seen the theatrical cut in theaters, actually, and I had some interesting thoughts.
Look, it's a great film.
It is a good film.
I love that.
I don't think I love it as much as you. I think honestly, by making it Bruce and Clark never meeting beforehand, the fight actually works a little bit better in the film.
You said this to me before, and I sort of got what you were saying, but at the same time, I think the two fights happen for completely different reasons.
Yeah, for completely different reasons, but the fight in the film feels a little more in line with sort of. It just feels it feels more right to me. It also might be because the fight doesn't end in anyone's death. It ends in them teaming up and taking down a bigger bad, and I just like that trope.
Yeah, I agree. But also just you can see why I had you watch it. The amount of influence that
there is
Returns it has on it, right down to the image of the skeletal Superman after the nuclear bomb. Like that's directly from here too.
Yeah, it is.
It's not just the fight. It's not just direct pieces of dialogue. It's what it has to do with Superman as well. It's crazy.
Also, Bruce's costume.
Yeah, Bruce's costume.
Clark's costume.
Yeah.
Some of the role of the media, honestly,
and how the world treats Superman and Batman as figures, as political figures, really.
Yeah, it's very much a different. It's very much a different take, and it's an interesting take because I will say flat out, I'm not the biggest Zack Snyder fan. There's. I can also see a lot of the Ayn Rand influences in all of his films, and that just.
Okay. Moving on.
But I will say.
Damn, Joey Morgan butthurt. Joey Morgan gonna cry. Is Joey Morgan gonna cry?
I will say, give the Ultimate Edition because despite being flawed, it's some of the stuff they cut is honestly baffling because it's some really good character moments, especially with Lois Lane. Lois Lane seems to keep getting dicked in the DC Extended Universe.
Yeah, except for Man of Steel,
Except for Man of Steel, but that's
yeah. When that was released in theaters, just like Amy Adams came on and just like fucking brilliant Lois Lane. Then they cut all of her shit from Bats v Soups and Justice League, and the extended cuts did wonders for her character.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was Dark Knight Returns. Let's do some plugs before we reveal the next episode. So, of course, wherever you're listening to us, if you're listening to us not on YouTube, go subscribe to the YouTube channel anyway. Just knowing that the support is there means a lot. That's Blood Donut Studios. And just go.
If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, if there's an option to rate, please leave us a rate and review. If you're enjoying this, it'll help us in the algorithm and help us to grow. If you want to directly interact with us, jump over to the YouTube channel. We both, Joey and I, do look at the comments and love reading
and we leave and I'll have our Twitter is linked in the description. I'm Jomo with 3 underscores. You, as always, are Newt 5996. Liz is Elite Comic Nerd. I'll leave that linked there. Follow us all. You can directly interact with us there. We're all fairly active on Twitter. And
if any of you have any suggestions for my ever a better please tell me.
I'm going to credit you on this episode as featuring Elite Comic Nerd.
And I'm never going to talk to you again.
Yes.
All right. So I think it is time, Jacob.
Hang on. I have a couple of guesses.
Jacob, I'm pretty sure you've already figured it out, though.
Have I?
I think so.
He has.
What is your top guess?
My top guess is the Man of Steel.
No. Okay. All right. Here we go. All right. So episode 6. So this is our final episode of the year. So episode 6 is going to be our first episode of 2022. We're starting off our Superman block. So when I said that Dark Knight Returns was our transition into our next comic story, I didn't mean just the fact that Superman appears in the Dark Knight Returns. There's a reason I had you watch Batman v Superman, because for episode 6 we'll be reading The Death of Superman.
What?
Yes. Yeah, you guessed it. You guessed it on call the other night.
I was like, man, he wouldn't. And the fucker would.
No, you see, Joey. He said one of my other guesses is The Death of Superman because Joey is fucking insane. That's what he said to me.
You wouldn't. Okay.
I would. We are reading The Death of Superman. Yeah.
Good luck.
What do you mean, good luck? It's a great story.
It is, but it's such an interesting place to start. I mean, it's a good place to start.
I don't think it's a bad place to start. You need to know like one thing about a main Superman character going in, but I could just tell him that, you know. It's not bad. So as always, I'll leave the next. I'll leave the link to Death of Superman in the description below. If you haven't read The Dark Knight Returns and you decided to listen to all the spoiler stuff, anyway, Dark Knight Returns will be linked in the description as well. You can buy those books on Amazon. You can use Amazon Prime and get them fast. As always, best way I think to get these books that we talk about, most of them are available on Amazon. Although I was looking up some future books that we'll be covering eventually, and some of them aren't quite as readily available. So we'll come up with solutions. Don't worry.
Well, I think
they're going to break into a museum to steal Action Comics #1.
Yep, that's true. Absolutely.
Nice episode.
I'm going to be there. I was already there. This is a message from the future. I was there. I stole it from them.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for listening. It really is great to know that there's been so much support for the podcast. Holy shit, this is almost as long as the Court of Owls episode, I'm just realizing. So I'm going to cut this off as soon as possible. Thank you all so much for listening.
Thanks for having me on.
I want to thank Liz so much again for being on. It was really, really fun to have you on here and have another perspective on the comics that we cover. We won't have guests too often, but when we do, it'll always be fun. And Liz, of course, is always welcome on the podcast. Jacob, I hope you enjoyed today.
Yeah.
All right. So, once again, thank you all so much for listening. Time to do it out. Until next time, this has been Joey Morgan
and Jacob Licklater.
And this bitch.
There you go. Goodbye.